once again we get a chance to talk to Michelle Gomes, this time for Season 4 of Doom Patrol, coming out in December on HBO Max. Last season we were in the past, this season we're going to the future, and returning with everybody is reformed supervillain Madame Rogue. What can you tell us about where Laura's going to be in this season?
She comes back into this season as a bona fide member of the Doom Patrol. She's now part of that family, and so she's really trying that on for size. And I think Madame Rouge has been a real loner, I would say, amongst other things, until this point. So she's just trying to, compromise and fit in, as we all have to do if we're a member of a family.
You make being a villain in a lot of the past projects seem so flawless and so easy. Is it fun now to start from where you shine to going into it? Now you get to be a superhero? Like you lean more into the good guy direction?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's always more interesting to play different facets of your character, and it's all very well just being bad, being the baddie, but people are baddies for a reason, and I'm always interested in where did they start, how did that
they usually have good intentions, and then their good intentions are not viewed as being the right intentions by the rest of the world, so that's how they become the villain. I
guess that's a very good way of putting it, for sure, and just trying to explore ways in which to do things differently. We're all about our choices,
right.
And that's kind of what defines us. So she's trying to make some good choices now that might actually make her feel better about herself, I suppose, and in doing so she becomes more lovable.
Because usually when a person's playing a role, they're usually craving to sink their teeth into becoming like, I'd like to play a bad guy or an evil person for once, because it's more fun in the long run.
Yeah.
But then you go the opposite way to go, I'm going to get to portray someone good who's getting not necessarily an overall superhero, but getting a reboot, a restart at her life from where she was to where she's going now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why Doom Patrol. I think that's Doom Patrol's strength. That we're a bunch of anti-heroes. Like we don't want to be heroes. We've got all these powers. We don't.
They just want to be happy.
They just want to be happy.
And it doesn't work.
Actually, weirdly, they want to be normal, and none of us, as we all know, really knows what that is. Like we all have this notion of being normal, whatever that is, So I think they're on a hiding to nothing there. They should embrace their superpowers.
Well, it's going to be fun to see as Season 4 rolls out in December on HBO Max. And I got to ask you, look, next year we're going into a new era, new showrunner. Well, old showrunner coming back with Russ Davies. Any hint that maybe Missy shows up?
Oh, please.
Because her ending seemed so final. Like usually nothing's ever final, and hers seemed very final.
Yeah.
But then they brought the Master back as something different for this current run.
Yeah.
So what's not to say that she makes a return somewhere down the line?
You just never know where I'm going to pop up.
Do you like to revisit an old character?
Yes.
You do.
Well, if it was Missy, she's got a special place in my heart for sure.
Good to know. Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
We're here with Joivan and Wade. I ask everybody this who's not American, how did you nail the American accent? What did you watch, listen to influence how you would depict the accent?
Yeah, I think the great thing is about being British is that we get a lot of American shows, a lot of American movies. So from a young kid, you're watching all these movies and TV shows mimicking these characters.
Right.
So you get a general sense of it. But then when it came to really nailing it, I started looking at just a lot of African American actors, really, and just trying to find. What's funny is you got to really find your voice within it. So it's no point just mimicking an accent. You have to really work out, okay, well, what do I sound like? If I was an African American, what would I sound like?
Right.
And so, yeah, just lending to, just a lot of just African Americans and getting the different diasporas. But then specifically for Vic Stone, for me, it was about looking at cats from Detroit and looking at how they sounded and what they did. And that was my big, influence when it came to, getting the accent down.
Because it's always amazing how the Brits and the Australians can pretty much get it down, but whenever the Americans try to do it, we just sound silly. Yeah. It sounds like we're making fun of you. And in a way, I guess we are, but you guys can nail it, because when you find out actors from American movies or American dramas, and you go, wait, that guy's British, that guy's Australian. You had no idea until you saw him on a talk show, and now he's talking as himself. It's like, damn, they can always pull it off, but we can't do it.
Yeah, no, I think that it lends to even just the influence in the media and getting an opportunity to see as much British shows. Like, you guys don't get as many, so you don't get that opportunity, especially when you're younger.
Well, we get BritBox now, but back in the day it was PBS, you know.
Yeah.
But we were getting like Monty Python and Allo Allo and Faulty Towers, things like that. Nothing current.
But you got to search for it.
Yeah.
For us, we don't have to search for it. We just turn on the TV.
And you got friends.
It's all American. Yeah, and you got friends, exactly.
So we're in season 4. We're in the future now. Everybody's distraught. Nobody's ever happy in this show. Where do we find Victor now in season 4?
Well, Vic is where you find him maybe the happiest he's ever been. You know, he's got an opportunity to get rid of his cybernetics, to actually work out what it means to be a human being, first and foremost, to be a black man in Detroit, and he has his own opportunity to really discover himself and find self-love. And he goes on that journey trying to work out, well, what does it mean for me to be a superhero as Vic Stone? What does that look like? Is it possible? Is it not?
Right.
And we really get to go on that journey with him and discover that. But at the start of the season, you know, he's the happiest he's ever been, because he is now doing what he wants to do and not told what to do by Silas or anyone else for that matter. So,
right.
Yeah.
So he gets a chance to pull himself up by his own bootstraps.
Exactly.
I'm gonna trademark that phrase. No
You
one's
should.
using that. We got to run, but so last question for you. Look, there's a big shakeup going on with DC. They're restructuring. There might be an opening for a cyborg in the movie world. Would you like to make that parallel step over there sometime?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. That'd be a dream. You know, it's like it's every kid's dream, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've wanted to, you know, be in the movieverse, and yeah, that would be an absolute
As
dream.
Cyborg, or is there another character you'd like to tackle?
Yeah, even as Cyborg. There's you know, I'd love to tackle other characters, but I'd love to also have the opportunity to be able to play Cyborg in that DC verse, and yeah, cut above my pay grade, but we'll see what happens.
Well, we hope season 4 is going to be a big smash, and hopefully that next year we find out, hey, you moving over to the movie side, so that's pretty good too. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Finishing up Doom Patrol Season 4 at New York Comic Con, we're speaking with April Bowlby.
Yeah.
Great to talk to you.
Good to talk
Of course,
with you.
she's Rita on the show. You may know her, like I know her, as Mia from Slam and Salmon.
Oh, yes, Mia.
You've been part of some great comedy properties between 2.5 Men and then working with the Broken Lizard guys.
Yeah.
And now into here. I've always heard that, you know, having some foot in the comedy world really helps bring out the dramatic side for some reason.
Yeah.
So you get a chance in this show to do a little bit of both. You're very because the show is so absurd. There's a lot of comical moments. But last season, you in the past was really going through a weird self-exploration of who am I? What do I really want out of life?
Right. Yeah.
Tell us about the intensity of what you did with last season.
The intensity of last season. Yeah. Well, I think it is true that if you do comedy, then they say drama is easier. I don't know why that is, but I think with the end of last season, Rita leading off as the newly announced leader, and then going into this season, it's very serious to her to be the best leader that she can be.
Right.
And we time travel and we fight the ball sack, and it's all very serious.
It's hard to take a ball sack seriously,
See,
right?
That's where the comedy comes in. And I mean, there's this fun little detail that we wear jellyfish, to protect our brains while we're time traveling. So comedy comes on its own, and then I get to be grounded in the physicalness of the character. So it's a really lovely balance.
Where do we find her personally in season 4? Being the leader, there's a ball sack, but where do we find her as far as, is she confident in herself? Like after everything she went through, she's like, okay, I know where I am, and then now she can deal with any situation that's being thrown at her, or is she still having her internal struggles?
Yeah, I think I think she doesn't know it yet, but I think it's a false sense of confidence. I think she's really pushing to be what she thinks is the right leader, and you'll see that she ends up ostracizing the Doom Patrol because she's pushing so hard to be the good, right leader. She wants to do it right, and then she learns from that mistake, and then eventually I think she really does become a true leader.
It's a leader, and it's an older sister kind of position that's kind of, I don't know if she wanted it was just thrown on her, or she just accepted, and that's what she's doing.
Yeah, I think she wants to be a part of, I think she wants to know who she is, and I think she wants to help, and she thought it was acting, and that didn't work, and it's a vapid moment for her, she wants to actually engage and truly find what she's good at, and she believes she's good at leading.
All right, well, we're going to have to see where this all goes for season 4 of Doom Patrol, coming out in December on HBO Max. April, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're here with Jack Bannon, who, of course, is Alfred from Pennyworth. Without you, there is no show. Also, without Michael Caine, there is no show. When he was cast for Alfred in the movies, he insisted that Alfred have an SAS background there. I heard you auditioned doing a Michael Caine impression. Do you remember what you said during the audition?
We had the audition scene was the scene in the pilot episode where he's on the phone to Aziz, I think, and it was basically shouting down the phone. So I was just doing this Michael Caine impersonation. It was quite funny.
Has he heard, or have you heard word that he's heard your impression?
I have no idea. No,
none, nothing, no reach out, no.
nothing.
As you portray Alfie in the show, were you a Doctor Who fan? Because you seem to have a little bit of David Tennant kind of vibe as you, just the way you're leaning, sometimes the way you mosey across the floor, something like that.
That's an interesting spot. Yeah, I love David Tennant. I like Matt Smith as well. I think Doctor Who has that quintessentially British kind of element that Alfred also has. So yeah, there's definitely shades of that in there.
In the show, we skipped ahead a few years here. We're now in the 70s, a lot of weird shit's going on. Where do we find Alfie at the start of the season 3?
Yes, we've moved on 5 years and we're into the psychedelic 70s where there's sort of mind control drugs flying around, but Alfred's doing pretty well. The war, the Civil War has ended. There are other evil forces at play, but he's doing pretty well. Pennyworth Security is up and running successfully. He's working with Dave Boy and Bet, trying to sort of make an honest living. He's working with Martha as well, and a bit of government and stuff like that comes into play, but he's generally keeping his head down and enjoying life to begin with.
As we see in this season, the rebranding of the title, because now it's Pennyworth, the origin of Batman's butler. We're going to see new superheroes, new villains as the season progresses, but are we going to see, I know Alfred's it's kind of a fear not wanting to be a butler because that was his dad's line of work, and he feels like, I don't know if it's ashamed or he just doesn't want to do that. Do we start to, because of the new branding, do we start to see steps going forward to making that change?
I think not hugely, but I think the title change is a good one. We have a saying in England: it does what it says on the tin, and it tells us exactly what it is. I think, we're on a new platform, we've got a new title, it's a new season, it's a real renewed energy. But we won't see him, ironing tablecloths and learning how to make tea like a good butler does. But we certainly, throughout, we've seen him serving other people through his work with Pennyworth Security.
So or maybe you can't tell, Easter eggs, foreshadowing, that kind of stuff.
There's a bit in there, yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to have to pay real close attention as this thing goes here. It's weird being in the 70s with still having a nod back to the 60s with this new drug that's going to be out in the streets that's causing a problem, and pretty much a big storyline for the Wayne family, for Alfie, to go back to that like acid trip kind of 60s as it moves into the 70s. It feels like times moved ahead, but still some things have changed. A lot has changed, actually, but then some things haven't. Like, it's still sort of the same. There's an underline that's not going anywhere. Yeah,
I mean, the themes are all the same, and I think that one of the great things about the show is this mad world DC version of 60s and 70s that we've created, and that all that weirdness is definitely still in there. Yeah.
Last question: will we see John Salt?
Yeah,
we're going to find out what's going on with that.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a lot to look forward to in this season.
Indeed.
Jack, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, man.
Here with Ben Aldridge, who is Thomas Wayne in DC's Pennyworth. A lot different character than playing the arsehole guy in Fleabag.
Yeah, slightly different time period. He's a little bit less of an arsehole,
right.
I think. Although a little bit. He does have his arsehole moments for sure. But yeah, a nice contrast.
This season's a lot of fun. The show's a lot of fun with just showing how dysfunctional the Wayne family is compared to the other stories being told about the Wayne family. Because from the very beginning, it was always parents are died. It's all about Bruce and going forward. Now we're going backwards in a way here, and you're saying like, well, it's not all clean cut and powerful as you think that this family is going to be. The changes to the family tree have also been interesting. With last season introducing Samantha into the storyline here, is like, is this not Bruce? Or is there going to be a Bruce? Like, you don't know. It throws a lot of questions out there.
I don't know the answer to that. Bruno has not revealed to me whether she's like Batgirl, or what's going on. And I think everyone obviously expected when Martha was pregnant that she would give birth to Bruce in that last episode. So it was
it's
a nice
really hard
surprise.
one to keep a surprise anymore with a swerve in the show, and then all of a sudden that comes around, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. It must have been quite a strange reaction to it, I suppose. And yeah, I think you're right. Like, what the show is always trying to do is fill in the gaps. The history of who Thomas and Martha are, and their relationship is not a straightforward one. They're like great sparring partners. They're disagreeing over a lot of kind of big principled moral issues. And then we have Patrick Wayne that joins us this year in this season and kind of really comes in and stirs it up. You know, Thomas is on the straight and narrow. He's become a family man. He's got a daughter. He's a pediatrician now. He's trying to get away from the dark side, and his father comes in and tries to re-embroil him into I would say the more corrupt side of Wayne Enterprises. And also I think what it does is, and what Bruno is doing, is foreshadowing and plotting the kind of tense relationship between Patrick and Thomas that then becomes inherited between Thomas and Bruce, that kind of like cold, slightly removed fatherly figure that maybe hasn't done the best. So I think that's kind of like a mini Easter egg in a way. But the family dynamics this season is very much about family and kind of family interplay and the loyalty and distrust and the paranoia that can exist between families. So it's pretty layered one, yeah.
The first 3 episodes dropped for the beginning of the season, which is great because usually they don't. Sometimes certain properties do 2, but to have 3 at the start and then it's weekly going forward. To coin a phrase, how two-faced a lot of the family is, where when we see Patrick, we're like, oh my God, he's a stern asshole kind of figure that's like just an uncaring, very cold-hearted business guy. And then you start seeing some of the behind-the-scenes dealings that he's dealing with, and you go, it's like, he's not even running his own stuff. This other person is. Yeah. It's like, so they all put on a front that they're tough and this gruff exterior, and then when they're not near anybody, I'm like, oh my God, they don't know what they're doing either. They're very vulnerable.
I think that's a really great little storyline there, that he's under the control of someone else, and that we don't realize that for a while. And then you know, that character Patrick really develops as well. There's without spoiling anything, you know, probably around episode 6 or 7, we really see the internal struggle between Thomas and between Patrick, and it ends in a really shocking showdown that, as an actor, I totally wasn't expecting to read it. It's really exciting, but yeah, I think Patrick's actually really vulnerable, and we get to see that, and Thomas as well. Like it ends up being a pretty wild, dramatic, but also pretty kind of emotionally vulnerable season for him.
Well, we also got to throw in Martha here too, because it's in the first 3 episodes, so it's not really too much of a spoiler for anything. Yeah. But she has a line of work that nobody was familiar with.
Some big secrets. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, short of having an affair, she is like, definitely her trust is called into question, and it like almost obliterates their relationship.
It's like, how does my dad know what you do, but I didn't know what you do, and now that's a whole other
Thomas is kind of a fool in the middle of it, really. He's had the wool pulled over his eyes. But reading that, I thought that was so cool for Martha's character, and cool for Emma to get to play her as well. Just a really interesting double life that she's leading. I think it's probably quite unexpected in the kind of canon of it all, in terms of like what Martha usually stands for.
How long did it take you to nail down the American accent?
I've played a few Americans before, but this one was different. They wanted me to do
Is it based on anybody?
Well, they wanted me to do a more period kind of sound, and so I was looking at like film stars of the 50s and stuff, and they wanted to sound kind of upper class, east side. So yeah, I did a little bit, like studied around it basically, but yeah, I'm not even super aware of his voice now. It's just something that happens automatically for me. So yeah.
Well, the first 3 episodes are out on HBO Max right now for the season 3 of DC Pennyworth, and I'm just going to leave you with this. Unrelated to Pennyworth, the trailer for Knock at the Cabin just came out. Yeah. Looks fantastic. Can't wait.
Great, thank you.
Can't wait to
I'm
see
excited to see it. I really am. I haven't seen any of it yet, so yeah.
But go watch Pennyworth. It's on HBO Max. Go watch there.
We'll
talk about that later.
And then watch Knock at the Cabin, sure.
Yes. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. All right, we're here for Titan Season 4 with Nightwing. Brenton Thwaites, how are you doing, sir?
Good, mate. How are you doing?
Good. I ask everybody this, who's not American, how long did it take you to nail down the American accent, and what influenced your decision to do the accent?
I'm still trying. I'm still trying it, yeah. And you know what? Because we shoot up in Canada, and obviously with a Canadian crew, after a while,
you start blending into them. Yeah.
I'm starting this, like when I improvise, it's Canadian.
Yeah.
So this season I said I said an A at the end of a sentence, what, Gar, should we go A? Like, I don't know, like whatever it is. And I just caught myself instantly and thought, wow, I'm turning into a Canadian.
Did they ever cut and go, you got to say it again?
Oh, worse than that, mate.
Or did some stuff slip in and that's already in the show?
Maybe. You'll have to listen out for it, yeah.
Season 4 is coming out in November. Look, it's been a while. We were waiting to see what was going on between the pandemic, between the big shakeup with Warner and Discovery. We, for the longest time, nobody knew if their Season 4 was even coming because Season 3 didn't really end with a teaser. It just kind of ended like, oh, and they're off on their way and life seems happy. Was that the end? We didn't know. We got a quick little clip recently where you're just fighting ninjas, and then we see the display down here at New York Comic Con showing some of the outfits for some of the much anticipated villains, Brother Blood, Mother Mayhem, and Jinx down there. That's really all we've gotten so far. What can you tell us about Season 4?
Well, I will say this. Did you watch Squid Game?
Yeah, who didn't? Yeah,
Squid Game had the most hookiest endings to their episodes and seasons it was only one season, but after an episode you had to watch the next episode. Right. I've never been engaged with a piece of material like that ever, and where I feel like I agree, like we didn't punctuate the end of the third season very well because it connected with the fourth directly, story-wise. So we all pile into a van at the end of Season 3. With the beginning of Season 4, we're in the van. Yeah. So you pick us up basically exactly where we left off. So I feel the advantages of that is, people that are just watching the third season now are going to roll right into Season 4 as if no time has gone by. So yeah, I hear you. Like, it's not, you haven't really, been given a lot, and we're teasing it in a way that must feel frustrating.
Right. We know you're going to Metropolis.
Well, you have the ninja fight.
Yeah.
You see Tim Drake in that fight. So at the end of Season 3, Tim says, "Can I come along in the RV?" Dick says, "Let's go." So he's training up Tim to try and get him ready to become a Titan. So he's thinking of the future. And, when we get to Metropolis, we encounter bad guys that basically rush that process. And, instead of taking time training Tim up, he has to kind of send him into battle probably before he's ready.
We're running out of time with you. You're a very busy man, very popular. A lot of people here you got to talk to.
Yes.
Last question for you. With everything that's been going on with DC, they're restructuring, they're going to be doing a new outline, all new stuff is coming, some stuff is closing with the CW, looking like it may wrap up all their shows after this season. In this restructuring, if there's a chance for Titans to somewhere cross over into the movie universe, is that something you'd still be interested in doing, either as Nightwing or another character or something?
I would love to do it. I think it's a great idea. You see it with other companies, and they do it quite successfully, and I think that it's a good opportunity for Warner Brothers to copy that. But that being said, I think we just need to wait and figure out what their plan of attack is. If it is a restructuring, it may be a complete clean out, it may be recycling some old characters.
But you're there for it. If they're like, hey, look, we're going to bring you into the movies, you're like, yeah, I think I could do that.
That'd be fantastic. It'd be great, man. We'd make a great movie.
You got to go. I really appreciate your time. And I saw on your Instagram, between the pandemic and young kids having a new kid, and now you got the band thing coming along.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy. Good luck on all of that stuff, and look forward to seeing the album when it drops.
Oh, thanks, man. I can't wait to share that one. That's going to be fun.
Thanks for your time, Brenton.
All right, take care.
Continuing on with DC Titans for Season 4 at New York Comic Con, we're here with Joshua Orpin, who is Connor, who is Superboy. He's got a bunch of different names.
Yep.
Going into Season 4 here, we know we're going to Metropolis. Does this pique any kind of interest for Connor? Maybe you're trying to find out, maybe I should go look up Lex, or maybe find out the Kent family, see if something's going on there. Do we see something like that for Season 4?
Absolutely. Fans of the comics and Superman in general will know that, yeah, Metropolis is the home of Superman. It's the home of Lex, and that's not something that we're going to shy away from in season 4 of Titans. We're going to see a new interpretation of Lex Luthor this season, which is very exciting, played by Titus Welliver, who brings an incredible amount of gravitas to the role, and is an excellent counterpoint for this kind of youthful, impressionable version of Connor Kent on our show.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, Superman, Metropolis is the home of Superman, the world's greatest superhero, so that doesn't go unnoticed.
It's going to be interesting where in the movies for DC, Batman and Superman have a big problem because their moms are both named Martha, and they both have mother issues, father issues.
Yes.
You have the biggest father issues where your character is a genetic mix of Lex Luthor and Superman.
Yep.
Who do you call dad?
Well, it's interesting. I thought one of the really fun, kind of cute things that Connor was struggling with back in season 2 was, you know, can I call you mom? Like he wanted somebody to be able to call mom, and obviously with his 2 fathers, that's even more so. He doesn't know what to do. These guys really haven't been present in his life. I think one of the great things about season 4 is that we get to see the development of the relationship between Connor and Dick Grayson, who in my view is the real father figure in Connor's life, because he's there. He's the one who's there. He's the one who's present,
guiding him and training him and all of that.
He's providing the guidance. He's the guy that Connor turns to in his moments of need, and when he needs. He's
pretty much the only one you have, because you like you said with the no, can I call you mom? But then Blackfire leaves, so he has that sort of, you know, the girlfriend's gone.
Yep.
Maybe the dads will want to be a part of his life. Maybe they won't. So he's just grasping for anything.
Well, that's one of the kind of inciting incidents in season 4. We see Lex reach out to Connor, and he wants to meet, and Connor approaches that potential meeting with much trepidation and hesitation, and he's warned by the Titans, maybe this isn't a smart thing to do. This guy's bad news, but Connor's driven by an intense desire and a need to meet this guy and ask him those important questions.
I got to wrap up here with you. So one last question. Don't think I didn't notice that I saw you sneak into an episode of Preacher. I know you're a big comic book fan. You were one of the students. Going from the graphic novel, as great as that was for Preacher, and then going into the DC universe, which is even bigger, being a comic book fan, how surreal is it just to get the bit part in one beloved property to jumping into a giant universe that everyone loves?
Just incredibly surreal. There's no other word for it. It doesn't feel real when you're doing it, and I feel like the only way to function in that environment as an actor is to not think about it. When I'm shooting Titans, I can't think about the fact that I'm playing Superboy in a DC show. I just cannot conceive of that notion, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do my job. Preacher was cool. It was actually, in many ways, it was my first time on a TV set as big and bombastic and I guess elaborate as Titans was going to be. At that point in my life, I'd never worked on something that big before, so it did prepare me for the scale of stepping onto the Titans set and working on a big show.
Just being a fan, I mean, it's got to blow your mind. I know as an actor professionally you can handle it, but as a fan you're like, oh my god, I'm part of this. I read these growing up.
After the fact, I do allow myself to try and think about that and just become a little more comfortable with that notion, but it's something that you can never really be comfortable with as a fan. It's too crazy. It's crazy.
And I know you can't think of being Superboy while you're acting, but it's great to fill out on that form when your high school reunion comes up. What have you been doing since high school? Superboy, DC, and then having to go back there and I'm kind of Superman.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't make it to the 10-year reunion. I was too busy being Superboy.
Exactly how it is. Josh, thank you for your time, man. Enjoy the rest of your con. Oh, we can shake hands. Thank you.